the first episode of this series, we talked about the internet's reaction to a viral clip of Asmongold giving his opinion about the conflict in the Middle East. Well, after the story broke out, Asmon ended up getting banned on Twitch, and this sent the web into an uproar, with people debating about whether it was deserved or not, and if streamers like Hasan are just as guilty, if not worse, for the other side. And the internet had a lot to say about it. It starts off when Jake Lucky tweets out, Asmongold has been banned on Twitch, on his Zach Rar account, following his hate speech clip. Hero replies, the positive thing for him is now he has time to finally take a shower. And NTG says, and clean his house. Edward Preach replies, hate speech clip, get real Jake. Speaking facts is actual hate speech? Yeah, okay buddy. Probably should seek a new day job for continually having bad takes about basically everything. Silver Widow says, he calls 14.8 million people an inferior race. That's hate speech. And Edward replies, please direct me to the video where he said the people were an inferior race. And Jose says, dude, that asshole literally said inferior culture, which among the guidelines of Twitch is prohibited. Think before you sleep replies, I like how Hasan says the innocent people in the Twin Towers deserve to die, followed by making friends with a terrorist on stream, yet he is still allowed on Twitch. Colin says, Zach needs to stand his ground. He has the power to do so. He can't bend to them. Kev replies to Jake Lucky and says, but people like Hasan are still free to promote their members of terrorist organizations, play terrorist propaganda films, and praise groups like Hamas. Lol. This is dystopian levels of nonsense. Lamau. Yassine replies, Nelson Mandela was labeled a terrorist. Let's chill on those labels, my guy. Looking at the last 100 years objectively makes you understand that these so-called terrorists look completely different as to what they brainwashed us into believing. And Kev says, no, I don't think I will. They're the same groups of people who associate with the likes of ISIS, and these are now subsets of those groups. Different name, same belief. Same violent religion and promotes the extermination of the Jewish people and the nation of Israel. Their doctrine is compromised of genocidal language. This is indisputable. Anything other than owning up to this is not only advocating for the same beliefs, but complicit in the actions that take place. Muada responds, Hezbollah is a Shia group. ISIS is Sunni. These factions hate each other. You clearly don't understand the Middle Eastern political landscape. Angelica Reed responds to Jake Lucky and says, shouldn't he get banned on both accounts? And Gamey Vegito replier says, hoping he tries ban evasion so he does get banned on both. 4KT says, Asmongold's channel is gone, and attaches this image showing that his channel is banned with the caption, Roach squashed. Mura says, Twitch W, but make it permanent. A Cheeto quote tweets Jake Lucky and says, well, I think the clip is bad. There have been instances of far worse behavior on Twitch going unpunished. And Smaggle replies, thanks for giving your middle of the road opinion to Cheeto. Really needed it. And Cheeto says, no problem bro. Follow for more bangers. Kirsch quote tweets Jake and says, I find this amusing, not just because people like Hasan are able to talk to terrorists, but because what he said is what the average normie thinks about the situation, but won't say out loud. I'm kind of surprised he said it even. Whole situation is just fascinating to watch. Haptraz responds, I'm still trying to understand how saying I don't care is hate speech. And Kirsch says, it's a Trump shithole countries moment. He said there's an inferior culture, so he is guilty of racism, despite him talking about Sharia and Islamic culture and not Arabs specifically. Ace Chrome Cheetah says, that's still bad though? Inspector Nero replies, if your culture throws gay people off rooftops and treats as women like slaves, then it probably deserves to be criticized. Vincent Shame says, Hasan said Tibet had inferior culture. He even went farther, saying they are better off being invaded and oppressed. Technically, Asmon's comments are less inflammatory. Make Lost Kingdom says, him and Hasan should both be permabanned. Hasan for being obnoxious, and Asmon for being absolutely disgusting. And Kirsch says, just spray him with some Febreze. It'll be fine. Protein Dream replies, to be fair, I'm pretty sure the average person doesn't think Palestinians are inferior. Granted, the US isn't too different from the days after 9/11. The knee-jerk inferior culture reaction is only prevalent now in history buff circles wanting to praise the Inquisition. And Kirsch replies, I don't think he said Palestinians are inferior as people. He said the country is run by terrorists. And most normies, when they think of a country run by terrorists, will say, yeah, I don't care what happens. And Protein Dream replies, quoting Asmon saying, people who have genocide baked into their laws, they're terrible people. These people are not your allies. They're not the same as us. They come from an inferior culture that kills people for their identity. That's what he said. And you can claim that sentiment about the US too. The US's only saving grace is it's been a democracy longer, while democracy is barely old enough in other countries to be of legal age. US and plenty of EU countries have killed/do kill people for their identity. Bram quotes Jake Lucky and says, imagine all the cockroaches, rats, and ants trying to cheer him up and bringing him rotten food balanced on little plates, like the animals in Snow White. Anyway, get fucked, dipshit. Hope your stupid bloody teeth rot out of your head. head, Kazu quotes Jake Lucky and says, oh yeah, he's definitely going full right-wing grift mode now. Trigger Point quotes Jake and says, Hasan talks to literal terrorists on stream. And the Truth Is Nowhere says, nah, he deserved it. Don't be a dickhead on the internet. And Trigger Point responds, truth hurts? Dank Hill replies, I think killing over 11,000 children is worse than anything some dude with dynamite has ever done. And Trigger Point says, you know they want to eradicate the Western world, right? And 123 says, I thought retarded people like you went extinct in the 2000s. Figs replies, Hasan is protected by Twitch staff. Gator quotes Jake Lucky and says, just a reminder that Hasan is routinely able to say what they would consider to be hate speech, but because Twitch staff agree with it, they almost always let it slide. Also, Hasan had actual terrorists on stream. Nuclear Winter replies, remember when he said a US vet deserved to get his eye socket fucked by the Mujahideen? Jay Aubrey quotes Jake and says, Asmongold $100 million kick deal imminent. Raphael says, grown-ass man with a mentality of a high school edgelord that just does shit for the sake of getting reactions out of people finally faces his consequences. Now ban him from everywhere else. Hell, please get him to lose his position in his other businesses. The NCS Master quotes Jake and says, the rats in Asmongold's room discussing his Twitch suspension, and attaches this clip.
Yeah, but they got him.
What does that mean?
I liked him too.
Wait, what do you mean they got him?
Omni tweets out, seems like the dividing points about the Asmongold situation is that some people believe he was referring to Palestinians, Arabs, being inferior, thus making his remarks racist, while others believe he is talking about the culture specifically. What's y'all's take? Mighty Keef says, both of those conclusions are bad. Taylor replies, if you listen to the entire thing, it's very clear he's talking about the culture. Anybody taking it as a race thing wasn't paying attention. Jorb says, why would that be dividing? Thinking another culture is inferior is also racist. And Omni says, that's what I'm trying to understand from the comment section of my video. A lot of people keep saying there's a distinction and that they're not the same, but to me they're interrelated. Slasher then tweets out, Asmongold has been suspended from Twitch for 14 days, according to sources with knowledge of the situation. Lumi says, only 14 days is insane. Sheena says, these 2-week bans are literally just a vacation for these streamers. It's not a punishment at all. Bonesy says, should be a permanent ban, but better than nothing I guess. Omni quotes Slasher and says, Asmongold had a Frieza level racist rant and gets rewarded with a 2-week vacation in which he'll have a epic return, probably with more support than before. Classic. And the NCS Master says, Logan Paul's Force situation felt like the full unmasking of how big content creators get a double standard when it comes to punishment, and it just gets more obvious with each incident. And Omni replies, yeah, let some small random Twitch streamer say the same thing verbatim, and homie would get permanently eviscerated. The inequality is clear. And No says, yes, the companies care more about the people who make them more money. Is this something you needed proven to you? Saxophone replies, meanwhile, VTubers get banned for life for showing hips. David Toons quotes Slasher and says, Twitch, Asmongold, what you said about Palestine was not nice. 14 days in the no-no corner for you. Twitch is pathetic, dude. Collateral quotes Slasher and says, E-Rob was banned for a month for bantering with the chatter, by the way. Hertz Copain tweets out, you can't my bad yourself out of being a genocide apologist, and attaches an image of Asmongold's apology. And AKV replies, doesn't even seem like an honest apology. He's just sad about his brand. Destiny quotes her Copain and says, why not? Haven't you guys been doing it when making constant excuses for terrorists like Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis for months? Oh wait, never mind, you don't even say my bad. Just end Israel and the Jews, Lamau. Trench Dog tweets out, no shot Asmongold gets banned, while Hasan, literal terrorist propaganda spreader, doesn't, and attaches this clip.
I do things that you probably don't like.
Yeah.
Like we took that fucking Saudi deal.
You did?
Oh yeah, me and XQC both.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, we did. I'm sorry. I needed the money.
Oh, you want to see a Houthi musical?
Sure.
These were the people that the Saudis were killing, by the way. Just so you know. These fucking musically gifted individuals.
Yeah. This is a 3-minute video of... What do you mean a music video? When you said music video, I'm expecting like... Bad example, Chris Brown dancing, you know?
No. They do like...
What is
they do
this?
musicals. They're very musical people.
Are you being serious?
Dog, what do you... Look! You think I made this?
This isn't music. I know they're singing, but I'm seeing just guns and shit. This isn't a music video, Hasan.
No, it is. They do musicals about like their fucking... like their actions all the time. And they love walking over... They love walking over like the American flag and the Israeli flag side by side. They will always like march on it. I'm surprised they haven't done it yet. They do not care about the heavy missiles. Like they will literally take the war to them no matter what. It's an act of for them it's an act of resistance. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure. Oh my God. Oh man. You know what? I also took a McDonald's sponsor and I drink Starbucks. I'm sorry. Don't hate me.
Good job.
Dr. Awesome posted in the R YouTube drama subreddit. Apparently, Asmongold has been banned from Twitch, specifically on his Zach Rar account, likely due to yesterday's Gaza incident, and then post a link to Zach Rar, which shows that he is banned. I responds, that explains the milquetoast apology, and Snickers1126 says, my bad. Portable Bones replies, dude is so incredibly disgusting. He literally lives in filth. How do these people get popular? And Word Number says, his streams make me feel incredibly confident, smart, and attractive. Miserable Gur says, you know that won't last. All of these platforms only care about traffic and don't even uphold their own TOS or so-called standards. They only go after smaller creators. And Skrill replies, they don't need him. He's not even close to being someone they'd be concerned about losing. Someone new will immediately capture his audience, including the bigots. He'll run over to Truth Social or wherever the dregs, if you mean any, now congregate, and Twitch will keep making their billions. The only reason they reverse it is if there is business ties with an extreme Zionist, like maybe a billionaire financer, who decides to leverage his power for an unwashed, decaying internet clown. Lazily Made responds, it was his alt account that got banned, not his main. He's still got the same platform to speak to idiots and spread his dumbassery. All he lost was a side channel with viewership that came from his main channel anyway. Twitch still ain't ready to give him up. Gauntlet of Might replies, it's cool advocating for genocide, and calling another ethnic group inferior only gets you 2 weeks instead of a perma. And Bilaba responds, he deserves perma for that speech. And Gauntlet says literally any sane platform would have permitted him. Ari Man posts on the livestream fail subreddit, Asmon banned on Twitch. And Extreme CSGO responds, I will wait for Forson's take on the matter before forming an opinion on this. And Elements of Power says, alright. Cardiologist number 616 says, this is our Asmongold's 9/11. And Bang replies, the mods are gargling overtime over there. Any post saying he's banned gets instantly deleted. It's so funny. Tionong replies, this all started with that damn Amber Heard trial. He never recovered from being a React Andy. Should have just kept playing video games. And Lost Toy says, he was a React Andy before that, to be honest, but it was mostly just focused on gaming related content, so it was fine. After the trial, he started realizing he could get viewership beyond what gaming content has to offer. The Quartering tweets out, Asmongold said nothing wrong. And Peach Tart says, he did when he apologized. Dios replies, any culture that supports Sharia law is by definition an inferior culture. AI Emerald Apple says, he was saying what most people were already thinking. Mr. Technics replies, L-Take. And the Quartering quote tweets him and says, tweeting L-Take is the most queers for Palestine thing you could do. And Mr. Technics replies, someone's panties in a bunch? I'm an actual supporter of yours, but you're not free from criticism. Castigating a whole country is racist, but I guess that your glazing for shekels is coming out finally. And Quartering quote tweets him again saying, F Israel, F Palestine. 100,000 Americans died last year to opioids. Mental health crisis in America. Foreign invasion on our border. It's treason. Our tax dollars are stolen to buy missiles and then again to fix their damage. TTN replies, yeah, we have too many problems here to get involved with their mess of a war. Ramelia Rabbi says, every time I come back here, you've gained 0 following and have even less reach. Astounding. Why do you do it? Reinforcing your Overton window to control following? Cringe. Tips Out, who is a member of the OTK organization, which Asmongold is an owner of, tweets out, the below are my personal thoughts and do not reflect my employer or any company or person I am affiliated with. Hello everyone. As many of you are aware, some comments were made by Zach yesterday about Palestinians and Muslims. Before I address his comments, I'd like to take this opportunity to share some details about my background in hopes that those reading this post may better understand who I am, where I come from, and what those comments mean to me. 34 years ago, I was fortunate enough to be born in the United States of America, a blessing and lottery ticket that I thank God for every day. My parents, Syrian immigrants from Damascus, came to the US in the 70s/80s at the time where the likes of Hafez and Rafid al-Assad were massacring tens of thousands of their own people in Hama. The sole reason I exist today can be attributed to the words of one of my father's neighbors, who informed my late grandma that my father's friends had just been arrested for political dissent, and that the Mukabarts were coming for him next. Quick on her feet, my grandmother, God Almighty grant mercy on her soul, grabbed my 22-year-old father, and with tears in her eyes, shaved off his beard and sent him to Jordan, hoping he would make it out. With the help of a few friends, and at a time when many thought Syria was a weedy breakfast consumed with milk, my dad was one of the few Syrians lucky enough to be granted passage to America. To that we say, Alhamdulillah, thank God. At some point in the mid-80s, my father, then working as an engineer in Los Angeles, was serendipitously reunited with one of his childhood neighbors and schoolmates in Chicago, Illinois. This man would become my uncle, as his sisters, my mother, would marry my father soon after. In typical immigrant fashion, they wasted no time and my siblings and I were born. Growing up in the early 90s, it was clear we weren't your stereotypical American family. After all, we were Muslims. Headscarves, no pork, 5 daily prayers, and so on. We dressed conservatively, packed foreign foods in our lunchboxes, and spoke with thick accents until grade school. Yet, strangely enough, I cannot recall a single moment in those early years where I felt different. Yes, our swim trunks could have been less goofy, and explaining what Zatar was to kids at school was a thing, but despite all of that, we were just another American family in Southern California, navigating life and seeking out the coveted dream. Then, 9/11 happened. For those that may have been too young to remember, September 11th was not simply a moment or a day. It was a monumental shift in the thought and discourse. People were horrified, confused, but above it all, angry. In a famous incident, popular radio host Howard Stern called for the entire Middle East to be nuked. Bomb them all, and his opinion was not uncommon. From school teachers to store clerks, politicians to celebrities, liberals to conservatives, one thing was on everyone's mind: we gotta get them. But who was them? Surely the perpetrators and murderers who planned the attack, killing thousands of innocent people in the process, and changing the landscape of modern humanity. However, to some, them had a much broader definition. One of the least understood aspects of the attacks was the local aftermath, specifically the experiences of Americans who could be perceived as Arab passing. It didn't matter if you were Persian, Indian, South Asian, or even Latino. If you were within a certain shade of beige and had a 3+ syllable last name, you were a effing stand-in that had to be dealt with. Many religious minorities were also caught in the crossfire, with Sikhs, Hindus, Sephardic Jews, Arab Christians, and others receiving a significant share of the vitriol. Acts of wanton violence became commonplace. Houses of worship were burned down, and random people you knew from your community were being locked up, with some never heard from again. But how could this happen? How could such a monumental shift in attitude and behavior occur in the greatest country to ever exist? The same country that opened its arms wide to the tired and the poor, and not once made us feel any less than any other American. Truly, to be born American is an undeniable blessing, and despite our governance, I would gladly give my life to this country and the people that have given me and my family a chance. The reason behind such a substantial attitude shift cannot be attributed to a single moment or event. Rather, it was the accumulation of decades and decades of subtle media propaganda designed to produce an other, so that the powerful can continue to prey on the angry and divide the powerless. It is a tale as old as time, transcending region and geography, national lines and civilizations. A governance strategy deployed all throughout history to keep us, the people, at odds. It is this same calculated dehumanization that has led to some of the most heinous crimes and bloody massacres whose horrors we do not utter aloud. To many who heard Zach's comments, the language he used, whether intended or not, reeked of the same dehumanization that plagued their ancestors, their grandparents, and in some cases their families today. It is the same language used to justify wanton violence, genocide, and the destruction of our universal brotherhood. It is the same language used to brush off a video of a Palestinian woman and a child burning alive as a price of war. I'm not writing this post to defend the dignity of the Palestinians suffering in Gaza. Dignity does not require defense, it is a right. To those who have supported the humanitarian efforts and self-determination of the Palestinian people and all the oppressed around the globe, thank you. To those brave enough to look beyond their own anger and reach out to their Jewish friends and neighbors, thank you. These are trying times that will test us all. Zach's comments may have been the impetus for this post, but if there is one thing I hope to convey in my incoherence, it is this. I desperately plead to all those reading to wake up to the forces around you that wish nothing more than to separate you from your fellow man and conquer your hearts, your minds, and your humanity. Those that wish for you to look upon your school teachers, store clerks, and neighbors as them, for they are not them, they are you. Born to different circumstances, no doubt, but are you nonetheless. Open your skin and take a look for yourself. We all bleed the same blood, share the same dreams, and will one day rot in the same earth until our bones have long become dust, and the difference in our beings will no longer be thicker than air. Please, for the love of all that is holy and good, look out for yourselves and those around you. And if you ever feel the urge and anger to reduce your fellow man to anything less than yourself, ask aloud, who benefits? Thank you for taking the time to read this. I'll be spending most of my upcoming time working behind the scenes to ensure our staff and teams are all right, and that OTK continues to grow into the place I know it can be. In the meantime, peace. And that's what the internet's had to say so far. See you next episode.